one of the best Premier League seasons in memory. I think is set for a grandstand finish across the table. That's why it's been so good. I think so much for us still to fight for in terms of our teams at the top, at the bottom, European places as well. It's all very tight. Everyone's pretty much still got a chance of something very good or very bad happening.
No, absolutely. But I remember this time last year after the international break, obviously Arsenal were ahead of City at that time. We didn't have a three-horse race, but Arsenal were doing fantastically well. Top four, always interesting to see who can get into the Champions League. And I think we had as many as 9 teams that still had a possibility of getting relegated. Incredible. Yeah. So it was incredible last year, incredible this year. And yeah, I can't wait for it to come back. I really enjoyed the international break, but I can't wait for the Premier League now.
That's the voice of the former Chelsea and West Ham defender Scott Minto. By the way, I am Hugh Woozencroft with you on kickoff until 10 p.m. this evening. And this hour, I want your predictions for what you might think is going to happen in this run-in, whether it be something that no one else is seeing or whether you just think, actually, they're at the top of the table right now and they're going to win it. It's that as simple as that, So just let us know what you think. It might be something crazy. It might be pretty much straightforward. But in terms of your predictions for the end of the season, I'm very intrigued to know how fans think it will go. So give us a call, 03717 223344. You can text us on 81089. In amongst it, we've got to talk about the title race. So let's start there because we've got a pivotal fixture this weekend. Manchester City hosting Arsenal on Sunday, 4:30 kickoff. Arsenal top, Manchester City third. It's incredibly tight between the top three. Arsenal on 64 points after 28 games, the same as Liverpool. They're only in front of them on goal difference. Manchester City just 1 point back. So before we talk about how things might shake out in terms of the top of the table at the end of the season, this game, how pivotal could it be in deciding the title?
Look, it's not a title decider, but it could be extremely pivotal, especially if Arsenal were to win it. I mean, if Arsenal were to win this game, they would be 4 points ahead of City with
9 to go.
With 9 to go and another point with goal difference because they're already 11 ahead, so there'll be at least 12 ahead. That's difficult to catch up in terms of goal difference, so that's almost the equivalent of 5 points. Even Manchester City, and we know how good they are. And I've said from the start of the season, again, I've tried not to flip-flop, and I am sticking with them because they've been there, they've seen it, they've done it. Only last year, of course, and they're going for the double treble.
They're not the 5 and 6 City that they used to be, though.
No.
They used to really, ramp up the goals against most teams in the bottom half.
They are human beings, Hugh. They're going for a 4th consecutive Premier League title. Yeah. No one's ever won top flight.
I'm just backing up your
years.
point, Certain people might say, it's Manchester City, they'll easily close that gap in terms of goals. I'm just saying,
no, absolutely.
They're not the team that scores 5 and 6s every other weekend like they used to be.
Well, Arsenal are.
Yeah.
Arsenal are the team that are scoring 4s, 5s and 6s, and whatever they did in Dubai, they need to do it again, because since they came back, I'm sure it was all above board. Mikel Arteta, again, sensational. I thought they were brilliant last year. Obviously, they fell away with William Saliba being injured, and it was just around this point now that they did start to drop points, even though they were ahead in certain games. But I do think this is really pivotal if they were to get somehow all 3 points, and I don't think they will, but if they were to, not just in terms of the table where they'd almost be the equivalent of 5 points ahead of certainly Manchester City, not of Liverpool. But I just think psychologically that would give them so much, that belief to say we've beaten the best team around and have been for the last few years. We can now kick on despite the tough games they've got still. 8
straight wins in the Premier League for Arsenal. Manchester City unbeaten in 13 in the Premier League, 10 wins during that time.
Something's got to give.
It's going to be absolute bedlam, I think, at the Etihad on Sunday. Adrian Durham, by the way, will be with you from the Etihad covering just about every moment of it. But in terms of the title race, I agree with you. I think Arsenal... Well, I almost feel Arsenal have to win this game if they're going to win the title. And it would be a huge message, of course, if they did. I think we're going to have to see what all the Arsenal fans have been promising us, that they've changed. That a team that is fragile in the moments of high pressure has gone. A team that we've seen with Arsenal for so many years that when there's no pressure, they play brilliant football. But then as soon as the pressure really begins to ramp up, they begin to crumble. Listen, don't blame the messenger.
I think
it's happened on far too many. It's happened. It's a fact.
I think they had an injury to a key player, and now that player at this moment in time looks like he's fine. They've scored the most goals and they've conceded the fewest. Hugh. You know, so in terms of that right now, yeah, but this is the squeaky bum time.
Yeah.
Can they handle it? Well, as I say, Saliba's fit, defence looking really strong. They've got the addition of Declan Rice. I'm fascinated to see how this game goes, because if you remember last year when City absolutely did Arsenal at the Etihad and they went long and Erling Haaland just sort of bullied the defence, can't bully William Saliba. So it will be interesting to see whether they try and press high and see what happens. And I say, okay, go long. See if you can do that with Saliba and Gabriel as well.
If they take a point, how massive is that for
It's still a good
Arsenal?
result. Yeah. Absolutely. Don't lose. Win if you can, obviously.
Yeah.
But do not lose. But I do think the statement they would put out to themselves as much as anybody else, if they were to win, then I think they would believe they could go on and do it.
How important is the running, really? I'll describe some of the fixtures, but some people kind of saying, you know, it doesn't really matter when you're that good. Everyone's going to drop points. You know, there's no point really looking at the fixtures. I guess as fans, we kind of go, well, yeah, but you've got to play Manchester City. This is Arsenal. Manchester City, Aston Villa, a game against Chelsea, which I think they'll win, but it's a London derby. Of course, they're away at Spurs. They're away at Manchester United in their penultimate game. You look at Liverpool. They go away to Manchester United as well. They'll be at home to Spurs, away at Aston Villa in the penultimate game. And then you look at City, of course, Arsenal at the weekend. They kind of will be favourites in most games, but they also have Aston Villa at home. And you might say they've got the easiest run in their away at Spurs on the final day of the season, which could be a huge, huge fixture as well. How much do you read into the run-ins? Is it that important, or is it just, look, we're all going to drop points? It's about, you know, winning 90% of your games.
But they don't, you know. And the point is what we've seen of City and Liverpool for a couple of seasons where they almost didn't drop any points. No. And you know, this is where the big boys come out and say, whatever the fixture is, we're going to find a way to win. And City have done that in recent times, and that's why I think it is important. I think you in an ideal world, you'd rather come up against a team that's struggling or certainly not playing well than a team who's right up there and high in confidence. But if you're going to win the title, you just go out there and do your thing. And I think that's what City are able to do. They're able to put that pressure to one side and go out and do their thing.
Do you read too much into the mind games, possibly? I don't know if you saw Declan Rice saying he'd seen John Stones in the England camp, bumped into him. He said, big game when we get back to the Premier League. John Stones went...
For you?
No, he didn't. He went,
okay.
He went, what do you mean? Who we playing? He did that, right? He goes, and well, you're playing us. And he goes, oh, all right, yeah. He made out, he had no idea that Manchester City were playing Arsenal this weekend.
Absolutely.
And I was like... Is that the pet mind games? Has he told them all, if you see an Arsenal player on international camp, just make out it's not a big deal?
I don't think he would. I don't think Pep would have done that. I just think John Stones is experienced enough to do that and played a little mind game. Okay, you want to say big game to me? No, sorry, who is it? No, absolutely. They've been there. They've seen it. They've done it. They're going for the double treble. You know, what is it? Going for 6 titles in 7 and 4 on the spin.
Yeah,
they've been there. You can't do the mind games. And that's why I think Klopp and Pep haven't really done it between themselves. And Mikel Arteta is wanting to join the party in that sense, isn't he?
We'll talk Mikel Arteta after the break, because I think the managers and the relationship between them might be pivotal this weekend. I also want your predictions for what might happen between here and the end of the season.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.